New this year, the Breeders' Cup is releasing weekly rankings for the Breeders' Cup Classic to be held at Santa Anita, and we will update these rankings every week as they come out fresh from the Breeders' Cup. Remember, these rankings do not reflect horses that are eligible to run in the rankings, and that comes from the Breeders' Cup website. So these are really just an independent panel of 36 media members and handicappers, but it says the Breeders' Cup Classic rankings have no official bearing on qualification or selection into the Breeders' Cup Classic. Let's start at ranking number 10, Catalina Cruiser. Now this horse has just one race this year. That was at Belmont, and it picked up a win, and now it's pointing for Del Mar and the San Diego Handicap. He won that last year. So we're kind of on the fence if this horse is really even pointing for the Breeders' Cup Classic. He is an older horse. They did mention last year that the goal for 2019 would be the Breeders' Cup Classic, but first off, I guess he's got to win and get back at the route distance, win that Del Mar San Diego Handicap, which he'll probably be even money or 4 to 5 to win that race. And then we'll see what type of race he's going to point for. If it's actually going to be a Breeders' Cup Mile again, which he did not run that well last year, or the 10 furlongs of the Classic. Vera, the old fan favorite, he's gearing up for a summer campaign. He's working out at Gulfstream, and right now he's got kind of three options on the table. Possibly the Whitney, maybe the Woodward Stakes, which he ran in last year, or maybe the Jockey Club Gold Cup, and then going to the Classic. I have a feeling he's probably going to run one prep and then maybe the Classic. So points could be an issue if the race oversubscribes or if too many horses are looking to get into the Classic this year. Vera, remember, is winless at 10 furlongs. He does have a second place finish in the Travers Stakes, and then he also ran in the Breeders' Cup Classic last year, finishing second, but he is winless at the 10 furlong distance. Omaha Beach is the only 3-year-old currently in the top 10 rankings from the 36 writers and voters. And this horse has not raced since winning at Oaklawn Park back in April. He's pointing for a minor stakes race at Del Mar, and then we'll see where that kind of leaves him. He's kind of running out of time here unless he maybe wants to go to the East Coast. There's a few more spots that you can maybe point for on the East Coast than the West Coast, and they don't want to rush him back into the 10 furlong distance of the Pacific Classic. So it will be interesting to see maybe if Omaha Beach is kept more at a mile distance, and then in 2020 points for the Breeders' Cup Classic. Gift Box, he picked up a win in the Santa Anita Handicap, so he does have a win this year at 10 furlong distance. He lost most recently as the favorite at Churchill Downs to Seeking the Soul. He's being pointed for the Pacific Classic, and he should figure strongly in that spot. Catholic Boy was just seen over this weekend. We're now 115 days away from the Breeders' Cup Classic, and for him, he picked up second to Preservationist. He was favored in that race at 6 to 5, but it was only a second race of the year, his first dirt race of the year, and his only win on the dirt at 10 furlongs was in the Travers Stakes back in 2019. So again, we'll kind of play it by ear with him. Right now, they're considering the Woodward and then the Breeders' Cup Classic. I do think he's kind of being pointed for the Classic and the 10 furlongs, but he's only going to have a couple of preps to get to that race. Seeking the Soul, a monster win at Churchill Downs. This guy likes the Churchill surface. He's got 2 lifetime wins at Churchill Downs, both in the Clark Handicap. He's also won his most recent race, the Stephen Foster Handicap, and then last year he ran second in the mile at Churchill Downs. But the Breeders' Cup Classic is going to be at Santa Anita this year, so we'll have to see if Seeking the Soul can stretch out that form to 10 furlongs. But he's in good form right now, and class-wise, he's always been that grade 1, grade 2 type of horse. He did run in the Pegasus Stakes, so class is not an issue. Last seen, Vino Rosso, ranked number 4. He won the much anticipated rematch in the Hollywood Gold Cup against Gift Box. And that was a nice win for Vino Rosso. He had kind of hinted at that ability in the past. He made a move too soon in the Belmont Stakes, tried to win the race, ended up finishing further back than he probably would have if he'd tried to run on for second against Justify. He ran in the Kentucky Derby. He has a win in the Wood Memorial. He's a solid older horse, and I think he's kind of right there at that 9 to 10 furlong distance. Right now, the next race is probably going to be the Whitney on August 3rd at the Spa. Preservationist, he jumped from being completely outside the rankings, and he's now ranked number 3 with this son of Candy Ride, Preservationist. Nice win last week. Defeated Catholic Boy on the square, had a good trip, was inside, went to the lead at the beginning, kind of yielded the lead to Catholic Boy, and then just outgamed and ended up winning that race by 3.5, 4 lengths. So Preservationist, he's lightly raced. He's on a little bit of a win streak. Next out, 9 furlongs, Woodward, grade 1, and then he probably trained up to the Breeders' Cup Classic. So he's going to go in lightly raced if he makes it there. Thunder Snow, key to remember with him, he is winless in America. He's 0 for 4, and his last race, a nice second in the Met Mile. He does have 2 wins at 10 furlongs in the Breeders' Cup in the Dubai race. And then Mackenzie, ranked number 1 right now. He's another one who has questionable form at 10 furlongs, lost a head bob to Gift Box in the Santa Anita Handicap, ran 3rd in the Met Mile, and so we'll see if Mackenzie points to the mile or the Breeders' Cup Classic. But Mackenzie ranked number 1 this week in the Breeders' Cup. Who do you like in the Breeders' Cup? Remember, subscribe to get notifications of the weekly videos, and we'll keep you up to date as we go towards the Breeders' Cup Classic. Right now, you know, there's also a couple of 3-year-olds that are pointing for big races this summer at Saratoga and Del Mar, and they're not currently ranked in the top 10. I would say probably about 4 of these 10 horses will probably make the Breeders' Cup Classic. You've got Maximum Security going to the Haskell. You've got a couple of lightly raced Chad Brown runners in highest honors and looking at bikinis that might stretch out. Also, you've got Code of Honor. He's probably your Travers favorite right now. Big win in the Dwyer Stakes, pointing possibly for the Jim Dandy, but I think he's probably going to train up to the Travers Stakes. If he wins that race, he'll definitely be in the top 4 for the rankings, but that's again a couple of weeks away on July 27th. Other 3-year-olds, you've still got Game Winner out there, possibly running at Lost Ale, and then maybe the Travers, and then you've got a horse like Owendale, a couple of back-to-back wins on the rise in the 3-year-old division. So I think a few more 3-year-olds are going to make their way into these rankings as we move forward. I'm not sure yet if a few of these older horses are actually pointing to the Breeders' Cup Classic. 115 days away from the Breeders' Cup. It's July 9th, 2019. Who do you like in the Classic? Leave a note in the comments, and we'll lead you up to the Breeders' Cup World Championships and the 2019 Breeders' Cup Classic.